exceptional students of Mrs. Whitney's. So we've moved on to lesson 7.3 extension, angle measurements of triangles. So this is a lesson on being able to determine what the angle measurements are on the inside of a triangle. So they're called the interior angles. So the sum of the interior measurements of a triangle is 180. So it means that if I add x degrees plus y degrees plus z degrees, I end up with 180. Hence the x plus y plus z equals 180. So we can use that information to determine what missing angle measurements are. So example 1 says to find the value of x, then classify each triangle. And you did this a little bit on the pretest. You just had to find out what the angle measurement was, but not what the actual, or classifying the triangle. So we would take the sum of the interior angles. So 28 plus 50 plus x is equal to 180. So I'm going to combine like terms, and I get 78 plus x is equal to 180. I'm going to subtract 78 from both sides, and I end up with x is equal to, let's see here, this becomes 7, that becomes 10, 8 from 10 is 2, 7 subtract 7 is 0, so 102 degrees. So the angle measurement of this guy is 102 degrees. So if we're going to classify that triangle, if we classify it by its angles, it is an obtuse triangle. Obtuse, oops, oh, I don't know where that D came from, sorry guys. An obtuse triangle. And since none of the sides are congruent, there's no hash lines and there's no measurement, we have to assume that it is a scalene triangle because none of the sides are congruent. And if you forget what those things are, turn your notes back a few pages and you can see what it is. Okay, B is an example of what I like to call the rock star triangles. There's actually 2 or 3 of them. And this one is a 90 degree, 45, and we'll figure out what that x is. So 90 plus 45 plus x is equal to 180 degrees. Add those two together, you get 135 plus x is equal to 180. Subtract 135 degrees from both sides, and you end up with x is equal to, let's see here, subtract, 5 from 10 is 5, 3 from 7 is 4. It is 45 degrees. So this is a 90, by the way. It has little box here, which means that that's a 90 degree angle. Yeah, it didn't really tell us it was 90 degrees, but we knew from that little box that it was 90 degrees. So this is a 90, 45, 45 degree triangle. And one of the things that these little lines of congruency say is that if these two sides are congruent or measure the same, it means the angles opposite them also have to have the same measurement. So I didn't even really have to go through all this math. I knew that two congruent sides of an angle, their opposite angles are also congruent. So this is a right triangle because there's a right angle, and it is an isosceles triangle. That's a C. Isosceles triangle because two sides are congruent. And that is one of our rock star triangles, a 90, 45, 45 degree triangle. Okay, so if we can, so just finding more angle measurements and classifying the triangle. So we have 2 x's here. We know again they have to be the same degree measurement. One, because the x's are the same, so it means that the number is the same. And the other is because of these lines of congruency. So I have 2 x's plus 128 degrees is equal to 180. So like any good two-step equations, the first thing I'm going to do is undo this add 128 from both sides. And I end up with 2x is equal to, do a little subtraction here, 8 minus 10 is 2. 2 subtract from 7 is 5, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So 2x is equal to 52. Divide both sides by 2. Get rid of that coefficient. We end up with x is equal to 26 degrees. And we know we have one obtuse angle, so this is an obtuse triangle classified by the angles. If I look at the sides, I have two sides that are congruent, so that makes it an isosceles. Isosceles. So it's an obtuse triangle and it's an isosceles triangle. So this flag is one of the other rock star triangles. It does not have lines of congruency on the sides, but I'll tell you something about that once we figure out what those x's are. Again, those two x's have to be the same, so we have, or the measurements have to be the same, so we have 2x plus 60 is equal to 180. I am going to subtract 60 from both sides, and 2x is equal to 120. Divide both sides by 2. We end up with x is equal to 60 degrees. This is the other rock star triangle. It is a 60, 60, 60 triangle. It also means that each of these sides are also congruent, because if these two angles are the same, then these two sides must measure the same. If these two angles are the same, it must mean these two sides are also the same. So it is a equiangular, equilateral, equiangular, equilateral triangle. All the sides are the same and all of the angles are the same. Don't be fooled into saying this is an acute angle. While that's technically true, being an equiangular is more important than being an acute triangle, so it is an equiangular, equilateral triangle. Don't think we did this in the notes, but really quickly, because it will be on the homework, is if I give you 3 angle measurements, if I say I have a triangle that has 120 degrees, 35 plus 25. If I have a triangle that has these 3 angle measurements, is it a triangle? Well, let's add them up. If I say 120 plus 35 plus 25, so is this a triangle? Let's write this little note here. Is this a triangle? So 120 plus 35 plus 25. Does that equal 180? Well, 120, actually let's add these two together. This is 60 degrees plus 120 degrees, and that equals 180. And since they are both equal, yes, it's a triangle. So if you find 3 angle measurements, you add them together, if it equals 180 degrees, then it is a triangle. Thanks for watching.